Meowdy, folks. Welcome in, everyone. My name is Dungeon Meowster. I am your stream host for the evening. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a very special event. We have a couple guests here. I don't know if I just said this. This is Genderful with Dungeon Meowster. It is a gender talk show. We are all very excited to have you all here in chat, spending some time with us today. And today I have with me a regular on stream here, TransCapybara, my wife. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
And we also have special guests, AprilMayBeDead and Rumpelstiltskin. Welcome in, y'all.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello, everyone in chat. I'm not going to call you out one by one, but I'm glad that you're here. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, so today we're here. I've got my cozy tea. Do you all have cozy tea? I brought my really gay mug.
And I brought my really gay mug.
Your mug is also very trans.
Yes.
My cat mom mug.
Hand painted.
Because you said cat mom mug? Didn't you?
Yes.
That? That's so wonderful. I love that so much. If I had to pick one emotion that describes how I'm feeling, and I imagine the rest of us might be, it would be excited. It's like first day of school, excited. It's so good. I love it.
Exactly.
Well, welcome in also to our guests in chat. Thanks for being here. Please get yourselves cozy. Feel free to make a cup of tea as well. Usually we're a comfy, cozy daytime stream, so it's funny to be streaming at this time of day. What do you do at this time of day? Eat dinner? I don't know. Have a tea? Get a blanket? I love it. So first things first, let's do some introductions. But before that, actually, I need to explain how the things work to our audience. So, friends in chat, do you see this? Do you have a solution?
I don't know.
Okay. Friends in chat, we are accepting questions, but because my brain needs the help of my awesome moderators, if you submit questions either in the Twitch chat or in the Discord server, let me do the Discord command so that you all can see that. There's an AMA, meaning Ask Me Anything channel in Discord, where you can submit your questions. I have a couple of questions prepared here at the beginning, so while folks are still, for those on the West Coast getting off work and gathering, we have some things to talk about in the meantime. Yeah, so you'll submit those questions either in the Twitch chat or in the Discord, and we will, the moderators will help me figure out which things to plunk into our little Google Doc we're working off of so that we can all see the things and make the changes in real time. Let's see, get that pulled up. Boom. Nice.
I think that works for us.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So, without further ado, let's start with introductions. So we can do name, pronouns. Maybe we'll do a Twitch handle so that if there's folks listening to this as a podcast later, and they can't see us, they can hear what our things are. And let's see, what's one other fun thing that we could share with everyone today? Anyone have ideas?
The easy answer, obviously, is like pets or hobbies. I suppose there could be relevant information like how long you have known you've been trans, things like that.
Okay. Cool. I think so. The first question after the intros is what are y'all's relationship to gender? So maybe we'll get into how long you've known you're trans. How long trans? There we go. We'll get into that with our first question. So I like your idea of pets or hobbies. So name, pronouns, Twitch handle, and pets or hobbies. I will go first, and then I will catch up on chat while you all are introducing yourselves. How about? So we'll go on stream. We'll go left to right. So we'll be Meowster, Capybara, Rem, and then April.
Perfect for you.
Yeah.
Hey. So my name is Dungeon Meowster, or you can just call me Meowster. I use they them pronouns. My Twitch handle is Dungeon_Meowster. The underscore is an important part of the thing, and my pet is Neferkitty. You can actually, she was the inspiration for our logo. So if you look on the overlay here, you'll see half orange faced, half black and white faced cat, and that is my cat Neferkitty. She's very cute.
What a great name.
Yeah, I love her. She's a punny name. She also just turned 8 last weekend, so she's 8 years and 6 days old today.
Oh,
Wow.
That's my wholesome plug. Capybara, you're next.
Hi, my name's TransCapybara, and I use she/her pronouns. And let's see, my pet is Neferkitty because I live here in the house, and I inherited the cat whenever I married this wonderful person.
No.
Yeah.
What's one of your hobbies?
One of my hobbies is actually cooking for the family.
No.
Because that's how we eat, and we can't go to restaurants. So I got really good at cooking. And so I spend a lot of time preparing food and got really good at things. And recently received a sous vide and have been making sous vide things. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to have something that I can just put meat in a pot and set an exact temperature and come back to it, and it's perfectly cooked. It's so cool.
Nice. Love that for you. Next we have Rem.
Yeah, so I guess it's my turn. So hello everyone. My name is Rem. Online, my Twitch handle is Rempelstiltskin with an underscore after Rem.
So let's talk about gender, I guess. You ready to jump in? Maybe we'll just start with like what's your relationship to gender, and I'll let our two guests go first. So one suggested question Rem said is, how long have you known you were trans, or to put it more broadly, gender nonconforming, right? Because there's people have feelings about the word trans, which we could also get into, but how long have you known you were maybe not cisgender? Ooh.
I think you like really highlighted it in that like I threw that question out there. But there's a whole bunch of different ways to talk about gender and expression and like how you think about your own gender. So yeah, for me personally, I guess I have always been a little gender not normal. But that's probably true of everybody, or at least most of the people here. But I started having like real conversations with myself and like doing research and like trying to figure things out like I don't know, like 8-ish years ago. No, I suppose 10-ish years ago. And so it's been a long and grand adventure, and there's been many changes along the way, and I'm sure we'll get more details into it, but there's the short answer so that I can pass it along because I don't want to take all of the screen.
Oh, you're totally fine. And for folks in chat, we have a pronoun channel point redemption, so please share your pronouns in the chat. And there's also information about the plugin that you can get so that your pronouns are visible across Twitch when you're on desktop. Thank you. April's turn.
I actually I've only really as Rem put it, realized that I might be gender not normal in words, I suppose, recently. As in the last few years. I've sort of spent a lot of time exploring my gender, sort of like respecting my woman adjacentness, but becoming more comfortable with identifying as genderqueer. but allowing myself to sort of experiment and explore my relationship with femininity and my relationship with masculinity without necessarily the burden of a label, right? Or at least a specific label. And so I've only really started actively pursuing that in the last few years in various minor ways. But if I were to think back on like my childhood, I would say, I definitely recognize some very, traditionally masculine tendencies in myself. And that sort of led me on this whole path of thinking about it. So I guess I'm kind of a baby.
I love that so much. There's totally room to be all the things, right? I can go next. So I was what I would call egg mode in terms of a like trans masculine taking HRT until pandemic happened, and I spent a lot of time looking inward and the things, right? Because we can't go out, we can't play, we can't go do the fun things, and so like my little trans egg just hatched right in the middle of pandemic. Look at, you're so proud of me. Look at you go. But I've been identifying as non-binary for I think since 2017. So what year is it now? 2021. Was that 4 years? I've been some sort of like gender non-conforming something for like 4 years. But it's interesting how as like time and my relationship to my gender evolves, like the coming out process happens again and again and again and again, because before all of that I came out as a lesbian, and so it's just like there's no end to the coming out, y'all. There's just no end to it. So anyways, I think that's my short answer to that. I'm a non-binary trans masculine person. That's the synopsis-y version. As a total side note, unrelated to gender, or is it I also think I'm probably on the autism and ADHD spectrums. I am currently seeking formal diagnosis, but I think there actually is overlap between those things. To answer your question, Quicksilver, HRT is hormone replacement therapy. So in my case, testosterone. In TransCapybara's case, what are you taking, or what have you taken for HRT?
Okay. So I'm a trans woman, female person. I was assigned male at birth, and if that matters to anybody.
Speak loud so we can hear you.
So, the hormones I'm currently taking are estradiol, kind of an oral medication, and before that, I was taking spironolactone and progesterone, and that's usually the trifecta of the trans HRT medication regimen. Um, so, you know, all the trans feminine folks out there will be very familiar with probably one of those three. And yeah, that's the HRT I take.
Nice. Do you want to tell us more about your relationship to gender?
Sure. So I didn't really, well, I knew it was different, but I didn't really know how. For a long, long time, and I was trying to search for the answer. And there was like bits and pieces of me like kind of showing like feminine sort of qualities that I didn't really pick up on because I really didn't have any sort of frame of reference. I didn't have any trans friends or really knew anybody like that. And so I didn't really think it was a possibility that I could be female. So for the longest time, I was doing things that, like shaving all my body hair off, and like I just feel compelled to do this. It's not like it feels like really good to me to do that, and I don't know why, but yeah, I'm doing it. Um, and eventually experiencing a form of dysphoria that I could actually Google and try to get some answers.
What did you Google? What was your search term?
Do men normally have to picture themselves as with a female body in order to have sex, or like to like
Sounds really trans.
enjoy sex? Because I'm
That
thinking men don't actually have to think about this. This is weird. This is like strange. Like, am I the only person in the world that thinks this way? I didn't have any I didn't know anything. Um, and then I stumbled upon what gender dysphoria exhibits, and I was reading through it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hit all of these things, and then it's sort of like, revelation. I'm female. What? And this is at 30, age 39. I was married with 2 children and a house and an RV and a perfect,
Married to not me, to be clear.
yeah, not to this person, another person. And like I figured out I'm female. That is so interesting. And how do I get rid of this dysphoria now? And oh, you have to, take our HRT and transition to a female. And I'm like, that's daunting, but I it really didn't take me that long to actually decide that that's the path I should go down, because the path I was on was not sustainable. Like self-medicating with alcohol, it's not sustainable. So, um, so I decided to go down that path, and there's things that happened. There's like losing the marriage, losing family members. Uh, Thankfully, I have a great support system at work. Probably the greatest work support system I've thought I could ever experience.
So not to plug your particular workplace, but what industry do you work in?
I work in hardware, computer hardware. Computer hardware.
Like big tech though, right?
Oh yeah.
Like software engineering for a big tech.
Yes, big tech.
And they have
you will
they
know.
have trans healthcare,
You
right?
would know the name.
Yeah.
And they have great trans healthcare. They are on the HRC top 100, corporate equality index. So they have great trans care, and recently completed a bottom surgery, and it was all paid for. So
wow, congratulations.
yeah.
Wow,
yeah,
that is
cool.
amazing.
Yeah. And with that, I don't have to take spironolactone anymore.
Hooray!
That's great. It's like one med
because
I don't
the
have
body
to take
part
anymore.
that counters is no longer attached
That's
to
right.
your body.
It's no longer on me.
You're so excited about it.
Yeah.
So much.
So
happy recovery.
yeah, thanks.
Well, how many months post are you now?
It's about just over 3.
Just over 3 months
Yeah.
post.
Yeah, and
Very
it's
recently
great.
then.
Yeah, it was very successful. Let me just say that. So
That's so wonderful.
So before I ask our next question, I just want to remind folks, if you joined us since we started, if you would like, you're welcome to submit Ask Me Anything questions to these 2 genderful couples who are here talking to you today. We are taking submissions in our AMA channel in Discord and here in the Twitch chat, and the moderators are helping us moderate the questions so that we know which ones to do. So our next question is, how has your experience of gender evolved over time as a couple? And I can sort of start with some of my experiences, and then while you all sort of chew on your answers. So for me, Capybara and I got married when I was identifying as non-binary, so still gender non-conforming. But I was sort of more in the middle and hadn't really picked up that trans masculine identity yet. That has, as I said earlier, kind of come during pandemic. And so so when we got together, I was like, okay, I'm non-binary with this trans woman. Like, we're both into the female-shaped parts down there situation. Like, that's a good time. And you were pre-op. So that was a whole thing we had to navigate, which I won't get into too much detail. But we figured it out, and boop, there we go. Realized I need to turn my mature content filter on. I just did. Ooh.
Whoops.
Oops. I didn't say anything too saucy yet. It's on now. If you are not 18 or more, you might consider your choices. But, you know. So yeah, I mean, we had to navigate that. And what I think was really beautiful about how we approached that is you told us on one of our first dates, because I was like really into you but had never dated a trans woman or a cis man like in a serious way, and I was like, oh, I don't know, what do I do? And so, like, Capybara, you just said like you just each make a list of the things that you're like interested in and like available for, and you mix and match. You like pick from column A and column B, where does it match, and that's what you can do. It was such a great. I still remember the restaurant we were sitting in. We had that conversation.
I do too. I remember the table even.
And so, you know, as two sort of gender non-conforming, gender rebel people, you know, I've realized over time I've had to drop the precise boxes that a label like lesbian puts me in. And you know, more and more I've been drifting towards either pansexual or queer, which doesn't mean I'm into every single everybody, but like my sexual identity has evolved over time as my gender identity and the gender identities of the people I'm into has evolved. And I feel like all of this really ties into the whole gender abolition talk we had earlier this week on Monday on stream, but that's a whole other thing. So anyway, so that's been my introduction to that topic. Who wants to go next?
If you don't mind, I'll definitely steal the mic here. So, like, my journey has been long and strange and has been a collection of labels that have mostly been me stumbling across going, well, I'm not this, so what else is there? So I didn't have a lot of thoughts about gender growing up. I was a fairly isolated kid, and so gender wasn't really super relevant. The only times that gender was relevant is when I was doing an activity and doing it well, and other boys were very angry that I was beating them for some reason, and they didn't think that that was correct. And so I got to be gleefully spiteful at the gender dynamics and how to abuse them in those particular cases. But that was pretty much all I thought about gender. And I didn't really think about sexuality. I was a super late bloomer in general. And so my first puberty was really late. And everybody else was like doing the whole dating thing. And I was just kind of not interested / I didn't really understand. But that was cool. I ended up dating a guy, and he was absolutely wonderful, but I just wasn't into it. Is the super truncated version of that. Yeah, like he was absolutely great, but I just couldn't figure out how to relationship. And so when that ended, I was like, oh, okay, I think that I am just uninterested in relationships with anybody. I seem to be uninterested in anything. Mm-hmm. So I kind of tried to like search out some resources on that, and I found asexual. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm asexual, and that's all I have to worry about, and that's fine. And so I lived that way for a hot minute, and I didn't tell anybody, but you know, like I understood myself that way, and that was fine. And then I fell amazingly tragically in love with April, and found out that not only was I romantically attracted to her, but I was sexually attracted to her. And I was like, okay, well, this doesn't make any sense at all. So I had to do a little bit more digging, and I was like, okay, so demisexual really describes how I am feeling here. And so that's fine. And I was comfortable with that. And I told her about that identity, and that was all fine, but I didn't tell anybody else. And I was like, okay, this is good. And so we were dating for a while. And I'll let April talk later about her experiences and that about identifying in sexuality. But like she was having a lot of complications and thoughts about that, but I really wasn't. It was kind of strange. I didn't like people were assigning us to be lesbians, but I didn't really have any opinion on that. I was like technically I guess that's true, but I just didn't hold any internal value to that. But as time went on, I started feeling more and more gender questions and presentation questions. And so I kind of just started into the gender queer box. And I didn't really think a whole lot about it. And it just kind of made me uncomfortable. And everything just kind of slowly got more complicated and more worse. Until one day April just looked at me and told me flat out, you know, it's okay if you're trans. And then I broke down like a baby and cried and cried and cried. Yeah,
I mean, so hard.
Yeah. It was
It was
intense.
a whole deal. It was a whole deal. It was a rough period of time.
I'm pretty sure I've spent the last 8 months asking Capybara every night, if X thing changes about me because I'm trans, will you still love me? It's just like every night. Why does the feelings sneak up every night?
Yeah.
She's very affirming though.
Yeah, I one quick thing is whenever I started to date you, I noticed that you were on the masculine side of non-binary, and then my engineer brain goes to edge cases. There's an edge case here that they will want to go further towards the masculine side and start taking hormones, and I have to be okay with this right now. And so I decided right then and there, about 2 weeks into dating you, that if Jack decides or Meowster decides to go take some hormones, that I would be okay with that. And I still am. Even after marrying you. Yes. So.
Which is it's rare. Because, like,
yeah,
I don't know, what is it, 90% of people who come out as trans end up getting divorced or losing their relationship because, like, people are just like, this is not what I signed up for. Also, hormones and, like, adolescence is a whole thing.
Yeah.
What is so, like, I don't know, sort of different about Rem and I's story. Like, we started dating before being trans was a topic on the table, right? And when Rem started becoming more and more non-conforming, and I began observing this on my own, he was dealing with this entire identity crisis and trying not to tell me about it because of all those statistics.
I was terrified that you were absolutely going to vacate my life instantly.
Like, on one hand, I'm like, oh, why would you think that? But on the other hand, I'm like, similar to what Capybara was saying earlier, we didn't know any other trans people. Did we know any trans people at that point? We definitely
knew people who later
came out as trans.
To be trans. We knew very limited queer people at all of any variety.
And so we were sort of, very isolated in that situation. So I'm less insulted when I remember that.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So I had planned to not say anything and certainly not let her know. But she figured me out. Yeah.
As partners are wont to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, as partners are wont to do. And then came the long, arduous conversations about, okay, well, what does that mean? Like, what do I intend to do? I'm sure you've had similar conversations. And so then I personally really knew that I wanted HRT. Like, that's something that I absolutely knew that I wanted. And so
may I ask you how long you've been on HRT?
I have been on HRT since 2014.
January 2014.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
Side note, your beard is like my life goals. I hope I get that
well,
one day. It looks really handsome.
It took me a while. It took me a while, but you too can acquire this.
Yeah. He gets that a lot.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So
It
how
is.
long have you two been together?
We have been together 10 years.
Yes, yeah. February
cute.
was
I could cry.
actually
That could be
February.
us, honey.
Someday.
It could be us.
Someday.
February was our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
And we had a pretty rocky start. We're high school sweethearts, right? Which means that initially we started dating living in our ultra Christian households.
Ooh.
Right.
Oh.
I want to hear more
And
of this
so
story.
we understand what you mean when you say the coming out never ends, right? Over and over and over, it seems like there's always something. But I don't know, where do we start that?
Oh, I do want to.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go back.
It's okay. I just because I want to make it clear, like A, for the audience, and for like information, and B, for like journey stuff. So like I super went headlong into like FTM fully binary trans male transition. Like I had a doctor who was my only access point to hormones, who was very personally invested in making sure people were gold stars and making people sure wanted all of the surgeries and wanted all of the everything and wanted you to present hyper feminine or hyper masculine. Yeah, exactly.
He was the worst.
Yeah, like I'm saying all of this
what
to say
WPATH version was out when you were going through all of that? Is our version 6 right now or 7?
It's probably 6.
WPATH 6 or 7.
I think. Oh gosh, was I on 4 or 5?
What is WPATH?
It's the world. I don't remember the acronym.
It's
help me
a
out.
global. It's like a global standards of care. And
It's
Capybara is looking at
it's the rules that the doctors have to follow.
Gotcha.
Basically,
Thank
when
you.
I started, it was the whole you have to have like 2 or 3 years of gender therapy, get a signed letter. You have to have 3 or 4 years of hormones to get surgeries. You have to blah 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 blah. That changed while I was transitioning.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure what number that was. But yeah, so the point is that like I went into medical transition very, very binary and very, very toxic. Like even at the time, I knew that like I didn't want all of that, and that all of that was really sexist and gross. But it was pretty much like my access, and so unfortunately, like I was pretty invested in that for a hot minute, presenting very binary and passing and all of that. Really unfortunate stuff. And thankfully, over the years, that has gone away. I've gotten better doctors and I've gotten better attitudes. And so like nowadays it's I kind of have like a public answer about things and I have a like friends answer about things. In that like I have been out as binary trans to everywhere, all of my workspace, my family, everything, since ever. But it's also like, no, that's not everything about me. Also, the binary is bad, and gender as a whole is a fun and exciting toy, but it is not a hammer to beat people with. And gender abolition is great. And so I kind of just go, yeah, my pronouns are he, him. I would love to use other pronouns, but people have traumatized me with other pronouns. My gender is masculine, non-binary. But if I have to talk to somebody who's being aggressive or transphobic, then no, I'm male. I'm legally male. Deal with it. So yeah. All right, that's the aside I wanted to get to before whatever.
My gender marker on my driver's license is X.
Nice.
Wow.
So cool.
I don't think they even have it in all the states here in the U.S. I just live in one of the ones that's more trans forward.
Yeah.
But all of my federal stuff says that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I am not in a state that has that. And frankly, I applaud your bravery and your willingness. Whereas I think that gender markers should be taken off federal forms
Yeah, I agree
for
with you
so
there.
many reasons. But like in my personal case, I think like I would have chosen to have male as my legal marker for safety reasons, especially dealing with in cases where people need my ID, like you know, cops and jobs and things. So I'm super, super excited for all of the states that are getting X and for all of the people who are choosing that option. I just want it all to go away because that should not be on forms. And it's really even unhelpful on medical stuff because I can go to a doctor and I can write male on all of my medical forms because that is true and accurate and legal. But that is not all of the pertinent information that they need to know.
Then they don't know if you might maybe need a pap smear or something else. That whole deal.
Yeah. And that varies for every individual. And so, like, stuff. Anyway, I derailed for a while. Other people can talk.
Oh, you're fine.
Good. I think we were about to talk about us starting dating as
yeah. You take over. Go.
Oh gosh. Okay. Let's see. So we started dating in 2011. I was 17 and you were 20, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And Rem was about to move out of his parents' house, but far away. So we were like right on the cusp of a long distance relationship. Where we dated for 2 years, and when he had moved upstate from me is when he started having all of his gender questions, right? So like he was sort of isolated, going through his transition stuff on his own and not telling me about it. While we were also physically separated, right? And in like he was dealing with like isolation, being in a new place, trying to meet people, doing the gender struggle, and I was dealing with trying to figure out how I would even come out to my family and the house that I lived in. And we didn't really have a plan as far as moving in together. We didn't have the financial structure yet in place to do that, but we were working on it. Right. And questions like should we come out? Well, like I hadn't come to the conclusion that I couldn't come out until I was moved out of my parents' house because I knew that this was just a disaster, right? This is a disaster waiting to happen. We were, I don't know, 2 or 3 months away from being able to get an apartment together when my parents found out that we were dating. My parents knew Rem as my best friend, which was true. That was factual.
That's super lesbian. That's a classic lesbian trajectory, like intense friendship in the beginning.
It was quite intense. Long story short, my parents found out that we were trans.
That we were trans?
I'm sorry. No, that we were together.
Eyebrow waggles. Wow. It's okay if you're trans, April.
Yeah. Well, but so my parents found out that we were together. And it was while I was still in the house. And they sort of they didn't exactly kick me out, but they sort of forbade me from leaving, which kind of felt like kicking me out, you know what I mean? And so I remember that night I packed up everything in my bedroom. I had a little S10 Silverado. And I packed everything that I could fit into the truck bed and I just like drove off, right? And Rem and I together decided that since my parents already knew, we might as well tell his parents and just make it one night of awful. Right. And so we drove to your parents' house and we came out basically like, hey, just so you know, this is a thing. We were going to get an apartment in a couple months. In the meantime, we're looking for a place to live. It would be really cool if we could still stay here. But if not, we understand. We will find somewhere else. Right. And thankfully, Rem's parents did take us in for those few months, though it was a bit rocky. It was a rocky few months.
Yeah, that's a generous way. Anyway.
This is generous to both parties. So in that 2 months, we had a lot of conversations with Rem's parents about, like, you know, mostly them asking, well, have you tried dating men? Right. What if you guys just didn't? Right.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. That sounds turfy and awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, I did not come out as trans to my parents at
No.
that point. We just came out as in a relationship, and we did not make any references to labels or to my gender. We just came out as together. And then we had to reprocess again when I officially came out as trans.
Yep. Which was about 6 months later, I think.
Yeah, and during that time, her parents,
my parents completely stopped talking to me.
Are they still not talking to you?
Sort of.
Touchy questions. You also, if
at
any point ask a question, you're like, I don't want to answer this, you don't have to.
No. Thankfully, I was just talking to Rem about this earlier today, and we've talked about it in the past as well. But I feel like I'm finally getting to a point in my life where I'm mostly past the trauma of 2013, which, is an accomplishment, I feel like. But so I can talk about it without getting like upset or anything, and I don't mind people asking questions. But so my parents, they forbid me from leaving, so I ran away, / got kicked out, but then they completely cut contact with me, which for me was really I want to say that, like, it was quite the shock. Like, my mother is the classic helicopter mom. When people say helicopter mom, like, my mom's face should pop up. She used to call me. She used to call me every 6 hours. She had to know what I was doing all the time. She was incredibly controlling of all of my life situations and things. And I had just learned how to cope with it as a child. So, like, to go from that to nothing, you would think would be really freeing. And in a way, it was. But I really just spent a lot of time crying, right?
Yeah.
Because I liked my mom, She doesn't have good political views, but I liked her. But yeah, so she had completely stopped talking to me. My dad stopped talking to me. My sister was 10, and I had no means by which to talk to my sister. They had forbade me from telling her anything, right? That whole situation, and that was going to be the entire future of a relationship, except then my grandmother, I suppose there's a trigger warning here.
Passed away.
Yeah, she passed away by suicide, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my father was out of town when it happened, and my mom doesn't have any family that's close, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my dad called me, and this is the first time I had heard from him since they kicked me out. To go and be with my mom because no one else could be with her, right? And I did. And through that process, like, that is the only reason my mother and I started talking again, and it was because of this traumatic incident that brought us together, right?
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, my uncle died of a heart attack, and it just, like, those stacked in such a way that made us able to sort of politely engage with each other, right? But obviously our relationship was never the same. She didn't call me anymore. I wasn't expected to tell her what I was doing ever. We basically only talked around the holidays, and holidays became really difficult, right? And I was forbidden from talking about my relationship with Rem.
My name was not to be mentioned. I was the devil.
So there was I don't know, 5 to 7 years there.
Yeah.
Where if I brought up Rem's name, my mother would break down into tears and lock herself in her bedroom until I left. And she wouldn't engage, right? So where we are now, a major step for my mother is, as of, I guess it would be the end of 2019, right before 2020.
Yeah.
She would be in the same room with Rem at the holidays when my cousin hosted. Right. So that is where we are now.
I love that. So I feel like we just answered Transgriffin's question, which was, so you grew up in a religious environment. Did you keep your trans identity secret from your family? But do you have anything else you want to add to that, Rem?
Oh, yeah. So, my family, I was born and raised Catholic. My mother and my mother's side was born Catholic. My dad was a convert. I do not have much problems with my mom's side of the family, ironically. Whereas my dad's side of the family is way more of a problem. He didn't mind that April and I were in a relationship. He likes April better than me. And he didn't like that we were together, but it was tolerable. But me being trans was absolutely unacceptable. And it was a whole bunch of things where I was an adult and not living under that roof, and yet there was still all sorts of draconian laws that were tried to be placed upon me, some of which were very hilarious in that I tried to get my father to better understand what was going on, and I invited him to speak with my gender therapist, and like we could all just have some group therapy together.
Mm-hmm.
And that went really terribly. And in one of those instances, he tried to forbid me from going on HRT, not knowing that I was already a couple months on HRT.
Wow.
Nice.
That sounds really
Yeah.
insensitive.
Yeah. It is still an ongoing process. Like I said before about talking about pronouns, in that like I would love to be comfortable with other pronouns. Like I would love to use he and they. But several people, my father most aggressively, ungenders me with that.
You mean like only uses your name instead of pronouns?
No, I don't even get a name half the time. I get his eldest child.
Mm.
I get they vaguely. I get that sort of
Mm-hmm.
unpersoning.
Yeah, that sounds like how
Yep.
your dad talks about you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I completely relate, and I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Something that's really been interesting, that's been in both mine and Capybara's life recently, is like having either health scares or people like on hospice, like heart attack level of health scares, and needing to navigate like family dynamics with that. And there's still the trans thing that's unresolved, and it's like, you know, how do you grieve and handle the stress of your like birth family member is going through all this stuff, but there's still this like complete invalidation of one's identity. And it's like, I'm the young, like we're the younger people in the situation, and so then we want to show up for the parent, the grandparent, the whoever, but there's this other piece of like shitty gender crap. And it's just fascinating how hard all of that has been. Yeah. It's weird. Grieving while trans is weird. There's a whole bunch of extra layers that I don't think cis het people have to navigate.
Yeah. Like last summer, or last summer in June or early July, my grandmother passed away. But before she did, I was contacted by my family to say, like, my grandmother is almost almost on her way out because she's under hospice care now, and you may want to come over here and say, see her before she goes. And so I made the decision to go into an environment which uh, I am constantly misgendered and dead named, and trying to navigate all the people that are around, all the family members that are there to try to, tie all the loose ends together and go in there and have some, peaceful moments with my grandmother, who actually in the the last 2 years of her being alive had started to come around to accepting me as her granddaughter, and would call me by my actual legal name and pronouns. And I thought that was great. And I think other people, maybe other people in my family thought that was, chalk it up to, you know, uh, some other reason why she would want to, you know, honor me in that way. But I deeply felt it. And I really had a lot of love for her, and she had a love for me too. We would say "I love you" to each other. So, it
No.
was great that I got to say goodbye, but also really shitty to have to navigate my family members that would basically like walk around me with sort of a sneer on their face, like, "Why are you even here, you wretched piece?" And a complete 180 from the way that they used to treat me before I came out. I was like, golden child to the family.
Yeah.
Like,
You
I
were
was
the eldest
the son,
son, inheritor of the
the
family
eldest,
business.
yes, the firstborn eldest son, software engineer, cowboy. I grew up in a cowboy ranch setting, of course, so you can only imagine cowboys not coming around to the fact that they have a trans daughter, or whatever. So, and and just recently my father suffered a heart attack, and in I my expectations of him actually coming around to accepting me have gone pretty much to zero.
Yeah.
So it's just something I have to accept about my family. It really is. And it it has me leaning on my chosen family and my actual family much more, including my children, my 2 kids and lovely, lovely children.
We have the
And
best kids.
yeah, so good, aren't they?
Our kids are so cool. I
I've
just
heard
like
nothing but great things about them.
there's one of my kids in chat. Hi, Ninquendo.
Just last night, Nick Window and I were stepping through Adobe Audition, and like, he's not even like 16 yet, and he's like learned Adobe Audition, and he's teaching me things, and it's humbling, and I'm like swelling with pride as a.
Also, he's building my new stream computer slowly over time.
It's hard to
Yay.
navigate that
So
family
cool.
stuff, but I think
Our children give me hope for the future, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the shittiness that we're experiencing, I don't think the trans people that are in our kids' generation are gonna go through at least as often to the same volume as
I really hope it's decreasing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to be one of those role model people. Like, I could be like my kids have been told that, you can become whomever you are, because that's who you are, and it's immutable. And it is my obligation as your parent to love you unconditionally, no matter what. So
Perfect.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just.
I think
Yeah.
I think Rem can relate a lot to your position, Capybara, with your father and your family. It sounds very similar to a lot of the situation you're dealing with.
Yeah, I had my grandmother pass away early on in my transition, on my dad's side, and so I went down to the funeral, and all of my dad's side was either unaware or unsupportive, and that was really rough. My grandfather Meowster, you'll probably relate to this really hard right now. But my grandfather took one look at me, and I'm, like 6 months on T, maybe 3 months on T. And he goes, "What'd you fall into a wasp nest?"
Yikes.
And that was it. Like, that's literally the last thing that he said to me. I have not seen him since.
Wow.
Yeah. I have spoken with, so my parents have done sort of a bit of divorce and remarry, and the grandparents and grandparents have all done that. So I have more than like the average amount of grandparents. I have extras. And this week alone, I've heard from 2 grandfathers, while a third one is on his deathbed, like in hospice. Like, we didn't think he would make it to Friday. Like, I thought we'd have to cancel the stream because I thought he would be gone and I'd be flying across the country to go do the thing.
Yeah.
And so it's been really interesting because I'm like a month and change. I forget how many days now. I don't know. A month and a week or 2 on testosterone. And my voice hasn't changed too much yet. Like, it's starting to a little bit. I'm getting that tickle in the bottom of my vocal cords.
Soon.
Yes.
I notice it.
I'm
We
excited to see
actually-
all my VODs and watch it change over time. It's going to be a fun supercut in like a year or 2, and I make that video. Doop, says Nintendo. Doop. But yeah, it's like I'm talking to these grandparents and I'm like, oh no, this is the phone calls are gonna get weirder as time goes on because it's gonna get real obvious even just over the phone. So I just texted one of them back today because I just could not handle talking about how trans I am with one more grandparent this week. I've done it enough this week. Maybe next week. I don't know.
I cannot get into this story too much aside from a really funny anecdote. But I accidentally outed myself / made a huge problem for some other people because I answered the phone and the person who picked up immediately recognized me as me, but that I was no longer just Butch anymore. And it like exploded into this whole deal. So yeah, phone calls are strange and weird, and will get stranger and weirder.
Mm-hmm.
April, you
There
had
are
something to
several-
say?
I was just gonna say that when Rem started on testosterone, we were almost immensely unprepared for how fast the effects were going to start happening.
They didn't feel fast to me.
Okay, well, I was unprepared. And like his voice started dropping so quickly that at first we thought he got sick. We were like,
I've wondered if I
Do you
was
have-
sick,
"Do you have a cold?"
but I'm like checking my lymph nodes. I'm like, nothing's swollen in there. It's something else.
Yeah. And he's like we're like, "Do you have a cold?" And we're both looking at each other going, "Could it be already?"
No.
That's so funny.
And it was very fun.
Do you have anything else on this particular topic, or shall I move on to the voice training phone call portion of my questions I prepared?
Whatever you like.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
fine.
I feel like I just ramble off into the distance.
You're wonderful. I'm really enjoying this conversation with you all. So I wanted to talk a little bit about voices and voice training, and this seems like a good sort of transition, if you will.
Ah,
I love puns. What can I say? I think it's the autism in me that loves the puns. Pretty sure.
I love puns. I'm just terrible at them. So like, thank you for doing this for me.
So one thing that I've noticed is Rem, you were just talking about you answered the phone and it accidentally outed you, and that was a whole thing. I get misgendered on the phone all the time, and I've been anytime I need to make a phone call, like car repairs, medical appointments, more medical appointments, I get misgendered on the phone, and it's like, ugh. Like, I've literally had to tell people, please don't sir or ma'am me, just use my name.
Yeah.
So many times.
I would love to say that that'll get better with testosterone, though, I mean, not really, because you're still going to get misgendered, just in a different way. But it actually doesn't really get super better on that. Medical people are terrible about anything. Insurance companies are terrible. Anything that has your legal name or legal sex will be terrible forever. If you work in customer service or have a particular polite presentation to your voice, you will always be classified as feminine over the phone. It's just a thing.
I must learn this
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Basically, I guess for Capybara, I'll give you the hint. It's way more. I've found that it's way more about inflection and tone than actual like pitch of your voice. Because for whatever reason, if you are very peppy and polite, it doesn't really matter what your pitch is. People
And
will
your
just
register stays like here.
yeah,
Right.
it won't really matter. People will just assume that you are a woman for some reason. I mean, the reason is sexism, but yeah.
Preach.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
I just today in my voice training thing, we were learning about inflection and reading sentences and making sure that the inflection is there. Like, yes, he did seize the cup from the hand, you know, and making sure it kind of goes up and down and not just a monotone like, yeah, he sees the cup from the hand. Yeah. Uh-huh. And so I mean, I think I'm sorry. I think I'm actually okay uh with inflections. I just have to do them more exaggerated, especially over the phone because they can't actually see me, and that doesn't really even make a difference either. So, I mean, I've stood in front of a clerk at a Ace Hardware, and you know, I've got all feminine clothes on, and like he hemmed, and I'm like, I do you even? I'm right here. I've got like a low cut shirt, and nothing about me besides my voice is, anything. So it's frustrating, but also I know where it's like I've learned that the human brain has sort of this non-interruptible interrupt is what I call it, where it's like I must gender this person as a male because of the voice. I must do it. And I, you know, it's a thing.
Rem and I were talking a few weeks ago about how it's such a awful shame that pronouns are so tied to your physical attributes. You know,
Yeah.
like people hear a tone in the voice and the pronouns just follow, right? Or they see a shape and the pronouns follow. And like pronouns shouldn't be like, that's not even that they don't have to be, but they shouldn't be tied to that. It should purely be the sprinkles on top, what you want them to be, right?
Right.
It's like you don't go around assuming people's names. Why would you go around assuming people's pronouns?
How they want to be referred to.
Yeah. So, I have a resource I want to mention, and then we have at least two questions from the chat to tackle.
Oh wow, yeah, the doc just exploded.
And as a time check, we have 28 minutes until we hit the 2 hours we negotiated, and I want to be mindful and respectful of y'all's time. I know you have early morning trans agenda things to get to that are like, mowing the lawn, drinking tea, petting cats, whatever you do.
Yeah. Raising an army of the dead. Normal stuff.
Yeah, normal stuff. So, So Capybara has found a couple of voice coaching resources because you found that it's really, as we were just discussing, it's about changing how you speak, not the tone or depth. And so voice training, no amount of vocal surgery is going to fix your intonation and the lilt and the way a person speaks. And so so we have a couple resources. I posted it once in the chat before I started talking because I didn't want to lose it. But I'll post it again. So the three discords that we have, the first one is mine because of course it is. We have, as of this recording, somewhere between 250 and 300 folks, and it's very like trans and non-binary, neurodiverse. We've got folks with various disabilities, physical and mental. We're so cute. We just drank water at the same time.
I know.
Oh my god.
Aw.
We're so gay.
So gay.
Ew.
Ew.
It's so gay.
Yeah, so my community, it's a community for folks to gather when the Twitch stream isn't running, to play tabletop role-playing games together and just sort of like hang out and be social. So it's more of a social type space. The next Discord that I posted is the Trans Community Center, which has like 4,500 people. So it's much bigger than my server. And there are all kinds of special topics spaces. You can talk about coming out in all these various ways. Let me just tab over so I can talk about transition talk, trans masc, non-binary, speech school, legal transition, social transition, medical transition. So there's like, they go deep into all the different specific topics.
That's so great.
It's a very cool Discord. I've been sort of tearing it up in there last couple of days, and it's been a fun time. They also have a neurodivergent chat where you can talk about ADD, ADHD, autism spectrum, anxiety, compulsion, dissociative identity disorder, and OSDD, and other things. Well-being, selfies. You actually cannot post pictures or use emotes to react until you are rank 6. You have to like chat and type a bit until you rank up, and that's an anti-troll measure that they're taking in that server. I've been sort of asking around. Yeah, so they have a really strong moderation team. They even have like a ticketing system if you have questions or suggestions, and it's a very vibrant server. I'm in multiple trans servers, and I'm only suggesting a handful because, you know, I only want the best for all of you all. The third one I'm going to let Capybara talk about.
Yeah, so the third one is called Online Vocal Coach, and you can join that. And it could be anybody, like it could be trans femme or trans masc or singers or anyone really that wants to improve their voice quality. And what they do is they hold free classes on Sunday where you can jump into a queue, and you know they'll call your name up, and then you can like come off of mute and sit down with a person, and they will like show a spectrum analysis of your voice, sort of as the shared screen, so you can see sort of the resonance levels of your voice. If you play with Adobe Audition, there's a view that's very much like that whenever you're analyzing sound. So they sit down with you, and they run you through some warm-ups, and you know, do this like, oh, you know, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they look at how your voice looks on the spectrum thing.
They have tech.
They have tech.
Oh,
yeah,
tech.
And
it's very fancy.
And so they like, what's your goals? And like, I want to increase my resonance. And so they will work through specific exercises for raising, you know, increasing your resonance to be more trans femme. And if you're trans masc, then they go kind of the other direction. And it's really awesome. You can just have like this tailor-made one-on-one class, and then everyone else
free?
Yeah, on
it's
Sundays.
Free?
On Sundays it is.
There's a free place on the internet I can get better at being trans sounding?
Yes. Yes. And you'll learn like different it's like being in a classroom and someone being called to the front of the class, and you get to watch the interaction between the teacher and the student, like doing the back and forth. And so through that interaction, you get to learn through osmosis different techniques that you can use to improve your own voice. You can also pay for a class. So I paid $60 and sat down with someone for an hour, and they led me through like specific exercises. And it's like, okay, so your homework is now to do these semi-occluded vocal tract exercises. It's like basically you take a glass of water and a straw, and you like, as you're blowing through the straw into the glass of water, it has a back pressure that presses down back onto the vocal folds, and it makes them sync up. So if you make a sound through that, like you're blowing through the straw and you go, into water, it's splashy. So I suggest getting a jar doing this. But the back pressure onto the folds will make them vibrate in sync. And if you do that enough, it actually heals your voice. So like, it's stuff like that that's really cool. Also, the other thing that I learned in another class that I'm in is if you keep your mouth wide, like I'm not really doing it as much as I should be, but notice how my voice is now a lot more brighter. And if my tongue is now forward in my mouth, I get to sound a lot brighter. And even if I raise my pitch, then it sounds even better. And like, I have to practice this like all the time, like reading out loud, so that I can practice getting the pitch where I need it to be, and have my mouth wide, and really relearning how to talk and hold my mouth in a different way. It's very interesting.
This is a joke, but girls should smile more.
Oh God.
See, those are the habits that I need to unlearn.
Same.
I'm
Same.
working on it.
Burn down the patriarchy.
with a smile.
With a smile. I got my torch.
I've got the pitchfork.
There you go.
I got a pitchfork. I got a pitchfork over here.
Whenever Capybara does masculine voice, it's always a redneck masculine voice.
It's got a rednecky.
So funny.
Helps get in the character.
Yeah.
Was that April?
Oh, I was just gonna say it's so funny because I desperately want to unlearn how I like my natural reaction to everything is to smile and laugh, but at the same time I'm just so goddamn happy all the time that it's really hard.
You should watch the show Daria. It's like nonplussed reactions to everything, like
exactly.
Okay.
I think that's just called autism, though.
Maybe.
Pretty sure. Pretty sure that's autism. We're both autistic, for the record.
Yeah, you may have to act, but what you're doing isn't that enough. So I don't know.
I completely understand and relate. I am definitely divergent. In exactly what way, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna seek diagnosis C. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I say this a lot around here, but the Venn diagram of people who are neurodivergent and people who are trans is almost basically a circle. So I just basically expect that anyone who's gender nonconforming is probably some flavor of something, which I love so much.
That's right.
Okay, well, with our last 18 minutes here, we've got a question from quicksilverati, also known as Silver, who uses she her pronouns. So like cis question, this means that even, and this is back when we were talking about relationships, even if your sexuality might lean towards one side, which I'm just going to clarify, there's more than one side, like, or two sides. It's like, there's not even sides. But anyways, if your partner decides they are trans, accepting that is literally just an extremely pure form of love, right? Am I understanding? Oh, whoa.
I've got some opinions on that. If nobody else wants the mic,
you go first. I have opinions too, but you go first. You'll probably say
okay. All right. So like, on one hand, from personal experience, yeah, like having my partner accept me in whatever physical form I might take, certainly felt like very extreme, pure love. But like it's not really as simple as that. In that a person can love another person very deeply and very purely, but their attraction to certain elements, certain dynamics within the relationship, certain practices that they may have, those can change. And so while obviously, like, yes, it would be heartbreaking if April was no longer attracted to me in the way that I present now. It's not it's not because she would like love me any less. It's just because we wouldn't be compatible in that way. Not all people are compatible. So like I like really am trying to walk that fine line and explain it, in that if you meet this person and you are attracted to them, and then they tell you they're trans, but like this is who they are as presented, and you suddenly reject them, then that's just transphobia. If you meet somebody and you love them, and they come out as trans and say they want to transition to some other type of presentation, then you need to assess that. Like, that presentation may work. You might need to see how it changes between you two. But like, the answer can be that it doesn't work. And that's just the reality of the situation.
Yep. Sure is.
Meowster?
I think there's also something to be said for safety in numbers. If your loved one might be LGBTQ and you love them, that might actually mean you're LGBTQ as well. And the community is stronger and more safe the more of us there are. I think there is sometimes I don't know if grief is the right word, grief process, anxiety process, grappling process a person goes through when they start to realize they might be LGBTQ. As particularly, I think we're talking about sexuality right now, so lesbian, gay, bisexual, or pansexual, or queer. LGBTQ. But there's a whole process because you lose the heteronormativity, you lose the heterosexual privilege that you get, the straight privilege. People start thinking you're dating the person you're with is your sibling or your friend instead of your spouse or your partner. That's a whole topic, and Ian Richards chimes in, or demisexual. That's right, demisexual is a whole nother also piece. And so I think it's the more people who identify as not straight, and then from there, like, start exploring what all of that means and learning more about it, the safer the rest of us are. Yeah, there's like a solidarity thing there for me personally.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's a loss of privilege, and it's coming to terms with your own identity. And I think for some cis people, it's the first time that they look at their own identity and actually question it. And sometimes they see something within themselves that they do not want to go down that path with. And so that's kind of up to them. They have to do the work. We can't do the work for them, right? And if they're not willing to do the work, the healthiest thing could be that the relationship has to move on and you find someone that has done the work. And that's, you know, I feel like I've done that. I had to do the work too. I found out I was trans and then instantly lesbian, which actually that piece of it was really easy for me to grapple with because I was hetero and I liked women before and I still like women now. And or and now then Jack came along and now I'm like dating a non-binary person. It's like, well, I have to expand my horizons a little bit. It's not just women. Now I like a non-binary people too. And now Jack's like going towards more of the trans masc side. I'm like, okay, so my sexuality is shifting around and my identity as along with it, but also I've done the work
Mhm.
to look at myself very deeply and ask the hard questions and go to therapy and heal. uh and not a lot of, I find that some people just don't want to do that. um they, for whatever reasons they have. So there's that whole piece of it. Um and I think it's just it comes down to how strong is the relationship and what sort of connection there is between the two people and what kind of work both have undergone and are willing to. Um and there's quite a lot of difference. There's a lot of combinations of that. So you'll see every combination of it. I got lucky with my relationship to Meowster. Very, very lucky. I consider myself the luckiest person on the planet.
Aw,
I really
No,
do.
absolutely not. I
Absolutely.
refuse. I am the luckiest person.
we're both very lucky.
We're lucky. We're both lucky. Yes. And I there's heartbreak, but also there's absolute joy, and I feel like I've experienced sort of both sides of it.
hmm Did you have an opinion on that question?
Oh, I mean, I feel like y'all pretty much covered it. I feel like it can be tough. It can be tough. I feel like sometimes people look at sexual attraction, like their identity with sexual attraction first, which can kind of cause issues. Like, okay, if I identify as a lesbian and then I see, like, I sort of like limit myself to women that I perceive that are attractive, right? Whereas if I maybe don't put that lesbian label on it, I can just see who I find attractive and then adjust my label as it happens to be in this moment, if that makes sense.
Sliding more towards pan or queer.
Exactly. But I mean, I also, like, I've identified my first sexual identification was bisexual, and I was like 8. Right? Like, I've identified as someone who likes both men and women and those between forever, like for as long as I remember having a sexual identity. So I feel like that's not a particular struggle that I personally have gone through. And so it can be a little bit harder for me to relate.
I hear that. Well, we have a couple more questions, but we also only have 8 minutes. So I wonder if we can pick maybe one more question to work on together. I'm trying to see which one feels the most topical. I think the one that V just submitted feels more topical, perhaps. So the question is, do you all have any thoughts about parsing the difference between being man adjacent or being a man, or being woman adjacent or being a woman? They are similar but different feelings that I feel are interesting to discuss.
I have my identity is woman adjacent, right? A queer woman adjacent, and what that sort of means to me is allowing, like, it is the identifying marker that says that I have explored my gender and I have the freedom to explore my gender with respect to the life that I've lived as a woman, because I'm not uncomfortable as a woman. You know, I use she, her pronouns. I present femininely. These things don't make me uncomfortable, right? But I've also done the gender experimentation, and I've looked at it with a critical eye. And I feel like that distinction, like being able to say that I'm woman adjacent, and I've explored my more masculine side and my more feminine side thoroughly. It's a good verbal note to communicate to people that I've done that. Whereas if I just said that I was a woman, and a cis woman at that, it doesn't communicate the same message. Right. It doesn't communicate the level of work that I've put into exploring myself thoroughly.
Have you ever heard of the phrase demi-femme?
I have heard of it, but I'm not very familiar with it.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if demi-femme or demi-girl or demi-woman might resonate with you. I'm not sure if it would, but more to be revealed. Gender is a journey.
Exactly. Like I said, I've only been deeply exploring this for the last few years, so I'm at the beginnings, right?
Well, that's wonderful.
See, that's funny that you bring up demi-genders, because I've had a long wrestle with that, because I like to describe, as male aligned or masculine aligned, because if I am ever forced into the binary, if I am ever forced to make a decision, one or the other, then I always choose male. But that's not the whole story. That's not the end of the story. And so for a while, I was like, okay, well, this must be Demi Boy, right? This must be Demi Masc. But to me, all of the people that I know who label as either demi girl or demi boy always seem to have this both internal and like aura of agenderness about it. Like they are split between a binary gender and a lack of gender and agender. And so that's something that like I just do not relate to. Like I am not lacking in something. There is too much of something. So I don't super like have a label aside from the male aligned, like because to me it's like calling a small joking warning about religious blasphemy. That it's very strange to call Jesus a demigod when he is supposed to be all man and all divine. And if Jesus can be all man and all divine, well, then I certainly can. So that is my entirely joking, but way to communicate to especially religious people how I can be all of this at once.
I love that. Okay, well, in a moment we are going to raid someone. I encourage everyone in the chat to hang out for the raid. You'll get extra channel points. We're going to go check out Queen City Q, who is a fellow non-binary pal, Twitch streamer, has closed captions on stream, and is also doing, has LGBTQ and AMA tags on the scene, but it looks like they're actually playing a game called Outriders, which looks intense. I don't know.
This sounds super wonderful. Meowster, could I pretty please ask you to answer the questions, and especially since you're non-binary, I would really be interested in your answer.
I will answer the question and give everyone shout outs before we go so that everyone's channels can get followed.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
But I
cool.
just
That would be
wanted
wonderful.
the viewers to not fuck off because we're 2 minutes away from the end and they're like, oh, it's over, and then they missed the whole
No.
the whole good ending.
Raid.
Yeah.
Stay for the raid. It means so much.
The difference between being man adjacent being a man, woman adjacent being a woman. I'm non-binary and people are like never ever going to get my shit right ever. It's exhausting and bummer. Yeah, that's the shortest answer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, thank you for your generosity. We just got a little pile of gift subs, y'all. Are you trying to start a hype
Oh,
train
wonderful.
so we won't stop streaming? They're like, stay
Silver, thank
longer.
you.
That's very kind.
Quicksilverati, you were the sweetest.
Yeah.
I've had to reclaim my masculine pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sort of on binary, but also identify sort of in the middle. Like Futch, right?
Nice. Yes.
Fem butch. Like I'm a great parent and I'm very caring and empathetic, but also like I can go and build things with power tools and cook a dinner and wrestle cattle and ride a horse and all this stuff. I've got all these skills and like it's part of my identity. It's like I don't want to throw it all away.
Yeah,
I
of course.
feel it's all useful. So I just have to
And
own
it's all
it.
part of you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Rem kind of went through that too with the when he first started identifying as trans, he sort of like slingshotted past the mark, right, and went like real masculine binary, and then kind of came back closer to center.
Yeah, don't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really wonderful for me to watch him sort of like as his identity shifted from where he was to where he is now. He dropped a lot of the things like in his fashion and just things that I knew that he used to love. He sort of gave up for a while because it was too feminine presenting in the early stages of his transition. But it was cool to see as his transition, as he got further and further along in his transition, and as he started passing more, he sort of readopted some of those more feminine qualities that I knew that he loved before. And that was really rewarding for me watching his journey to kind of rein back in some of those things that he loved.
Yo. I think what I want to add is if we abolish gender, a lot of this conversation stops happening.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
we can stop taking so much time thinking about what am I exactly and just be people.
Yeah.
And like the need for those identities falls away. I think we're a couple or several perhaps generations away from that. And if y'all are interested in learning more, I had like an hour and 15-minute conversation with Josen Star about that on Monday, and the VOD is up on my YouTube. Yeah. So that's the rest of my answer to the question is if we just abolish gender, then we don't have to worry about this.
Yeah. Almost all of the problems related go away. They just go away.
Yeah. It's people loving people.
Yeah.
People being people.
Absolutely.
And there's no bathrooms to fight over. There's no sports to fight over. I wholeheartedly want this to happen for us, and it's very Star Trekian in a way.
Yeah.
Gonna happen. It's just
it's like we need some like food replicators and just get everyone on the same page, and once everyone's on the same page, then we can actually do something.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Fully automated,
Yeah.
All right, chat is doing wild things. I don't understand. And also
Chat-
there is a raid to be happening. What is happening?
It is wild. So I'm gonna do our shout outs now. And then the talk show portion will be wrapped up, so if you all need to go to bed, but I think I'm going to hang out with chat at least until the hype train ends. Thank you all so much. It's very kind of you. I'm going to switch screens because my cool shout out thing is not on this screen. It's on every single one except for this one. So it might take me a moment and we won't be able to see our friends' faces, but we'll still be able to hear your voices.
All right,
Goodbye.
sounds good.
Bye, friends.
We'll stay around for the hype train.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
we're gonna hang out.
Okay, cool. Very cool. All right. Oh my god, my face is very zoomed in. Let's fix that. That was a lot of face we just got.
But we love your face.
How is it still so? I have to fix this right now. Oh my goodness. Why is my camera is huge now? Hold on. There we go. That's more reasonable. That's closer. Y'all. My goodness. Wait a minute. Oh, did we hit our bits goal? We have to give Neferkitty wet food now.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Now, do we have enough time? Aren't we raiding?
We will raid. We will. But also, here's some wet food of nondescript brands because no one is giving me their money to plug their wet food. Y'all, look at this. Look at the hype. Okay, so first off, I'm going to shout out April. And the shout out command is going to play a clip on screen, I think. We're going to find out.
Oh.
Fair.
Let's see.
I think my recent clip was an accidental clip, so this is going to be exciting.
No.
Hi, Millie. How you doing? I'm really excited to have you here. I've been like majorly lurking on your stream and Chelsea Mooncat's stream. These are fun. Oh, Dungeon Meowster, I'm so glad that you like my emotes. Quicksilverati worked really hard on them. I love them. I love them so much.
Oh, they're just quiet.
Oh,
no, yeah. I'm grinning so hard,
no.
y'all. That was so cute and wholesome. I loved it so much.
I've got the stream muted, so I don't even know what just happened. But hey, it's me.
We watched a clip of you. Yes, we watched a clip of you, and you're talking about Quicksilverati's emotes that was made for you, and you said hey to me in your clip. It was it's a randomly pulled clip out of all your clips, so somehow that worked out pretty well. Lucky us. Yes, she did talk about you in the clip. That's right. I love that so much. Okay, so next we're gonna shout out Rem. Rem maybe doesn't even have clips.
I don't have a clip. I'm so new. I'm gonna have my first stream like tomorrow or Monday, and
it's guys. His first stream is gonna be tomorrow. Please go drop him a follow. Give him all the love and support.
I'm gonna do art streaming. I do traditional art of many mediums. You'll get to see my studio and ask me to doodle things, I'm sure.
Cool. Awesome. I just tried to give you a shout out and I spelled your name wrong. So if you'll plunk it in the Discord, I will redo the thing. So folks can go follow the hyperlink and go give you a thing. So Rem, where can we see your art? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have an art internet place?
So I used to have an art internet place way back in the day, but for obvious reasons, I do not want to disclose that art place. I have made new ones, but they are not populated yet. So that's is why I am Twitch streaming, is to redo art things.
I love that for you. So folks, if you want to give Rem a follow, it's Rem Pel Stilt Skin. There's an underscore between Rem and Pelt Stilt Skin.
It's like Rumpelstiltskin, the folktale. I
love that so much. I put a T in it the first time. That's why I goofed it up. I said pelt instead of pel. That's my bad. Finally, we have a shout out for TransCapybara. Who has streamed one whole time. I don't even know if you have any clips.
I do.
You have a clip?
Yes. Oh God.
Do you have a highlight or do you have a clip?
Oh, it's a highlight.
Okay, it's not gonna play because it's a clip. It's not. Anyways.
Oh.
So Capybara is what are you gonna do on stream? What's your plan?
I think I actually.
I'm probably practicing voice stuff if I ever stream again.
Like I thought I was followed.
And usually whenever I'm streaming, it's because I'm testing the network.
It's true.
So and like I've got no overlays. It's bare, just a window with a camera, and I'm just practicing stream stuff, just voice stuff. Really I don't really care about anything else really. But if anyone wants to drop in and chat whenever I'm streaming, that'd be great. I'll chat you up and
Should we turn our notifications on?
I
Because you don't
practice my
stream
voice
very
stuff on
often.
you.
So we want to catch you when you do go live.
What?
We should turn our notifications on for your channel. So when
Oh.
you do go live, the like once every quarter that you go live, we all get the notifs and you can read your chat.
Yes, sure. Yes, please do that. And and then if I ever do again, you're like, TransCapybara's online. We get to ask them questions. So maybe I'll go online more often if I know that people are going to be watching me. I don't know.
I'll raid you sometime.
Oh.
Oh,
Just dump
I dropped
pile
you a
of people.
follow, Capybara.
Same. You got at least 2 more follows.
Wow,
I love
cool.
it so much. And Silverati. Love that.
Nice.
Well,
Silverati's
friends,
the
this has been just so delightful. Do you have Twitter handles? I feel like I'm not doing this very coordinatedly, and I apologize for me.
Do you have a Twitter handle? Let me grab it
Drop the link.
for you. Twitter is the new one that I'm experimenting with.
I have one link tree with everything. Maybe I'll plug that. There we go. I just plunked it in the chat. It's also been on the screen the whole time, but it's white text with no borders, so I should fix that. But I'm on Linktree. It's dungeon_Meowster. And you can see my... Oh, we should watch my new raid trailer! Oh my gosh. Y'all.
We should
But
watch
first-
that actually. Yes.
But first, let's get April's things in the thing.
Your link and drop it in, Rob?
No, it's all good.
Oh, you don't want your Twitter in there? Okay. Thank you, Meowster.
Yay. What's your handle?
Oh, it's AprilMayBeDead 1. I dropped it in the green room.
It's okay. Yep, sorry. That is
You're
me
good, no worries.
looking in the wrong spot. AprilMayBeDead 1. Let me go make sure I'm following you right now so don't forget.
Is there an AprilMayBeDead 0?
Or like without the 1. I am following you and I have notifications turned on. Ooh.
Ooh,
Schmancy.
I'm honored.
Schmancy.
I'm learning Twitter. I'm getting there. We getting there.
I love that so much. Okay, are you all ready for the first on-stream premiere of my raid video?
Yeah.
My channel trailer. It is 1 minute. We edited it all yesterday, and I was up till in the morning putting it in all the places, and it's really cool. Please enjoy.
It's really good. Please watch.
I left it in a folder, and I bet it got cleaned up and deleted. I bet that's exactly what happened. Yeah, it's not there anymore. Or no, it got moved into a folder. Here, hold on. This. That's the folder location. This is, I know it's thrilling content, you all. There's an incredible amount of tiny bit of detail tracking that goes into all this. This one. Like if it's in a place and they go grab it, and then one thing changes, it's gone. Okay, I'm gonna try again. Hi, I'm Dungeon Meowster, and I use they them pronouns. I'm a variety streamer focusing on adventure, a grove where forest dwellers live, platforming. Oh, the bobs! Simulation. Blah, blah. and RPGs. Oh, what? Oh no, the sun! I also host various tabletop role-playing games. My objective is puns, not plot. My community is comfy, cozy, and very welcoming to non-binary and trans individuals, as well as neurodivergent folks. We have a very active and lovely Discord server you can join as well. It's a great place to find LGBTQ plus folks interested in tabletop role-playing games or excellent wholesome memes. You can find my full schedule and more information about me in the panels below. I mean, I know you're here for me, but really, you're here for this cat. So that's my new channel trailer. I love it so much. Thanks for watching with me. Okay. Capybara has departed to fetch the cat because I just remembered when I saw her eating the food on stream that we hit our bits goal and we have to feed the cat now. Wet food on stream. It's a reward. It's a bits reward. But my friends, you don't have to stay on screen for that if you don't want to. You let me know what you prefer. All right. I'm going to do the wet food thing, but I'm going to switch to just chatting so we can see the cat more. And the raid will happen in approximately 2 minutes. Hooray. Thanks for chatting with me, y'all. It was such a great time. I would love to do it again. I love it. I love that. Thank you. Have a good night, y'all. All right, friends. We release the catten. Release the catten. Woo. Whoa. Hey, kitty. Look at this. Whoa. Whoa. All the wet foods. All of them's. So, y'all, anytime you want to make this cat this happy, we just got to meet one of our goals. She's making a mess of my hand, and I love it. I'll turn the music down. It's a bit much. Epic lo-fi while watching a cat eat wet food. Quality content here on Dungeon Meowster channel. We live to please. Nefer is adorable. I agree. Thanks everyone for contributing to our reward goals. Music is not coming through. Oh, you know why? It's because I haven't done that. There we go. Now you can hear it, hopefully. So Neferkitty is very grateful for all y'all being awesome, so she can have wet food. Kittens. Kittens. Will you hold this cup for me? You're gonna get your hand covered in cat food like I just did. We'll bring her bowl up next time to catch the missing bits. So friends, our next stream, it's scheduled to be Sunday. I don't know if it's happening, because if my family stuff happens the way we think it might, it won't. But in the meantime, we're gonna go give some love to Queen City Q, the streamer I mentioned earlier. If you are a subscriber, you can copy this first raid message. If you're not a sub, you can copy the second one. I appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Bye.